A billionaire visits a sick child's mom, but his offer is simply unthinkable. Claire sat at the edge of Jake's hospital bed, feeling the weight of her world pressing down on her chest. The sterile smell of antiseptic filled the air, mixing with the faint sound of beeping monitors. Outside, the sun shone brightly, a stark contrast to the dark reality inside these walls. Her son, just 10 years old, lay pale and fragile, his small frame swallowed by the plush hospital blankets. The doctors had given them the news. Time was running out. As the days morphed into weeks, Claire's desperation only grew. She'd always thought she could handle anything. After all, she was a single mother. But facing the reality of her son's terminal illness crushed her spirit. The bills piled up higher than the stack of hospital brochures she had collected, promising miracles but delivering only despair. Each night, she crunched numbers, praying for a miracle as she stared into her frigid refrigerator, nearly empty, and full of haunting reminders of their fading life together. That's when he appeared. Victor, a tall, enigmatic figure with an aura that radiated confidence. Rumor had swirled around town about the mysterious billionaire who'd moved into the sprawling mansion on the hill, the one with the ivy-covered walls and the hidden garden nobody could enter. Some said he was a recluse, others whispered about lavish parties no one was invited to. But now, he stood at the foot of her son's hospital bed, every ounce of charm in his smile twisted with something Claire couldn't quite place. "I can save him," Victor stated, his voice smooth but laden with gravity. "I have the means, and I can offer you a life-changing opportunity." Her heart raced. Hope was a dangerous thing, dangling just out of reach like the expensive treatments Jake needed. "What do you want?" she asked, fear and curiosity battling within her. He leaned closer, his gaze intense. "I'll pay for Jake's treatment. In exchange for your commitment, you'd live with me, serve as my personal assistant for a year. Just 1 year, and Jake could have a chance at life." The words hung in the air like smoke, threatening to choke her. A deal so outrageous. It felt like a bad movie plot. But as she looked at Jake's small hand clinging to hers, the choice struck her like a thunderclap. How far would she go to save him? "Yes," she finally whispered, the word tasting bitter on her tongue. But Victor wasn't just any billionaire. As the weeks rolled on, his world opened like a velvet curtain, revealing opulence and secrets wrapped in shadow. The lives he touched were caught in webs of intrigue and power, whispers about his past, told over hushed dinners and gossip magazines. Yet behind that charismatic smile, Claire sensed something darker lurking. Could she really trust him? And as she stepped into this new life, what hidden truths lay waiting to unravel everything she once believed? About loyalty, sacrifice, and the price of love? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Claire's heart raced as she absorbed Victor's proposal. The weight of it pressed hard on her chest, and for a moment, everything else faded away. Her reality, her fears, the buzzing fluorescent lights overhead. Could she really commit to this stranger? Live with him? Serve him? The idea made her stomach churn, but Jake's pale face, framed by the stark white sheets, begged her to consider it. "Are you sure?" she managed, her voice trembling. "You want me to leave everything behind?" Victor nodded, his expression firm but inscrutable. "Think of what's at stake, Claire. A year of your life for his chance at survival. It's worth it." Each syllable hung in the air like a heavy weight. Claire could almost feel the hope creeping back in, mingled with dread. But before she could respond, another figure pushed through the door. Dr. Elaine, Jake's physician, her expression serious. "Ms. Thompson, we need to talk," she said, urgency in her voice. Claire's heart dropped. The doctor had never shown up unannounced. Now, Claire's stomach clenched. "What's wrong with Jake?" she asked, panic curling inside her. Dr. Elaine's eyes shifted to Victor, a slight tightening of her jaw. "In private," she insisted, glancing back towards Jake. Victor stepped aside. A reluctant but respectful move, though Claire felt the tension simmering in his gaze. In the hallway, Dr. Elaine lowered her voice. "We've detected something unexpected in Jake's tests. A genetic anomaly, something related to his illness." Claire's breath hitched, a rush of fear flooding her senses. "What does that mean?" "It's rare and may explain why he's not responding to treatment. I need to know, has he had any contact with a family member you might not have mentioned?" Claire shook her head, bewildered. "No, everyone who could help is gone. Please, I need the truth." Dr. Elaine's eyes bore into her, desperate for clarity. Just then, Victor appeared in the doorway, looming with all the power he mustered. "What's going on?" His voice cut through the tension, a sharp, icy edge. Elaine's gaze flicked to him before returning to Claire. "It's complicated. Claire, if you don't tell me about your family, I can't help Jake." Victor stepped closer, his presence electrifying the air. "Family? Does he have someone we don't know about?" A rush of disbelief flooded Claire. "No, I don't understand." But it was then she caught something in Victor's expression, a flicker of recognition, as if he knew more than he was letting on. Her stomach dropped like a stone. Suddenly the door swung open wide, Jake's tiny voice breaking the tension. "Mom, who's that man?" Claire turned toward him. Jake's eyes were wide, curious, innocent. "Is he going to help me?" Claire hesitated, caught between two worlds, the man who promised salvation and the doctor who came with dire news. And then Jake looked at Victor, and for a moment a tiny gasp escaped him. "You look like Uncle David." The room felt like it was spinning. Claire's heart sank as the pieces slipped into place with a jarring finality. Victor's deep-set eyes widened, and for a split second Claire saw something flash across his face, a mixture of shock and something else. Recognition? Hurt? "What did you say?" Victor's voice lowered, almost a growl now, as he took a step forward. Claire's mind raced. The room pulsated around her. You're not Uncle David," she stammered, disbelieving. "That's impossible." But the flicker of guilt etched on Victor's face screamed otherwise. Time stood still, and in that moment, Claire realized what this meant. The betrayal, the connection. She had traded her son's life for something she couldn't even begin to understand. What if Victor wasn't just a stranger, willing to help? What if his reasons were intertwined with her past, a past she had buried deeper than the piles of bills, threatening to drown her? The walls of the hospital seemed to close in. Everything they'd built was on the verge of collapsing. But neither she nor Victor spoke, the truth boiling just beneath the surface. As Jake stared at them with wide, questioning eyes, Claire felt something shift, an undeniable bond forged in secrets, lies, and hope. What would she do now? Claire's heart raced as fear washed over her. Uncle David? The words floated in the air like a ghost. She felt cold, like all the warmth had been sucked out of the room. Victor's face changed. Any pretense of charm vanished, replaced by something fierce and challenging. "David?" Victor echoed, taking a quick step back, his expression a mix of confusion and anger. "He's dead." "No, he's not," Jake exclaimed, his innocent voice slicing through the thick tension. "I saw him. He looked like you." Claire's mind spun. Had David faked his death? Or did Victor— No, this couldn't be. Her breath caught in her throat. She glanced from Jake to Victor. The pieces felt like they were splintering. "Mom," Jake called, worry creeping into his tone. "What's wrong?" Tension grew thicker. The hallway felt like it was closing in, and every heartbeat echoed in her ears. She stepped forward, desperate to shield her son from this uncertainty. "Jake, sweetheart, it's okay," she lied, though her heart screamed otherwise. Victor's expression darkened. You don't understand what's at stake here, Claire. If David is really alive, that changes everything. What do you mean? Claire's voice was barely a whisper, fear curling tightly in her stomach. How do you know him? Before Victor could respond, the emergency alarms blared through the hospital, shrill and piercing. Red lights flashed overhead. Panic spread as nurses rushed down the hall, shouting orders. Code blue, room 304, move. Claire's heart dropped. Another patient? She turned to Victor. What's going on? Something's happening, he said, his voice low and urgent. He pulled his phone from his pocket, tapping quickly. Stay here with Jake. I'll find out what it is. Wait, she called, but he was already moving away, slipping into the chaos. Jake clutched her hand tighter. Mom, I don't want to be here anymore. What if it's me next? A chill ran down Claire's spine. She brushed Jake's hair back, her heart racing. No, baby. You're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Just then, a commotion broke out in the hallway. A group of doctors and nurses emerged from the emergency room, their faces pale, eyes wide. One of them, Dr. Elaine, was pushed back, shock written across her features. Claire, we need you, Dr. Elaine called, eyes darting. What's wrong? Claire's pulse raced. There's been a development with Jake's case. You have to come now. The panic swelled within her. She whipped around, searching for Victor, but he was gone. Jake? But before she could move, another man appeared, tall and imposing, stepping forward out of the shadows. He looked like Victor, but older, face lined with anger and something else. Loss. Where is David? He demanded, voice heavy. Who are you? Claire snapped, instinctively stepping in front of Jake. I'm his brother, the man said, eyes blazing. And I know why you're here, why David's alive, and what he wants. Claire felt the blood drain from her face. David is alive? But no time to explain, he interrupted, taking a step closer. Your son is not just any boy. He has something that gives us all a chance, and we can't let it slip away. Tension electrified the air, wrapping around them. Claire's thoughts swirled in disbelief. What could Jake possibly have that was so important? Just then the alarms blared louder, abruptly followed by an announcement that sent chills down Claire's spine. Evacuate the building immediately. Everything shifted. Claire felt reality tilt. The weight of the world bore down as chaos erupted. Jake's eyes were wide with confusion and Claire's heart raced with fear. What had she gotten them into? And who were these men, their past intertwined with her son's life? The room spun out of control, but Claire's focus sharpened. There was no turning back now. She had to find Victor, to uncover the truth, not just for herself, but for Jake. As they started to move, a sudden explosion shook the floor, echoing through the hallway. The lights flickered, and dust began to fall from the ceiling. Claire grabbed Jake's hand, pulling him close. What was happening? Mom, Jake cried, fear etched on his young face. Stay with me, sweetheart, she shouted over the din. In that moment, the world split apart, and Claire realized the truth she had to confront. The ultimate sacrifice loomed over her. The life of her son depended on choices she had yet to understand. Time slowed as she faced the choices ahead, wondering how deep the ties to Victor and David truly ran. Could she trust them, or was it all part of a dangerous game? The sirens wailed on, blending with Jake's frantic breaths. Everything was about to change, and she had no idea what awaited them. Would they escape this nightmare with their lives, or would they uncover something even more horrifying? Claire gripped Jake's hand tightly, panic bubbling just below the surface. The alarms blared, a sickening reminder of how quickly everything had turned upside down. She could feel the chaos swelling around them, a whirlpool of fear and uncertainty. The crowd pushed against her, rushing toward the exits. Mom! Jake's voice sliced through the noise. He was trembling, tiny fingers digging into her palm. I don't want to be here. Neither do I, sweetheart, she choked out, keeping her gaze on the doorway, searching for that hint of familiarity. But we have to stay together. Another explosion rattled the walls, sending a tremor through her body. Dust fell from the ceiling tiles, and the lights flickered ominously. People yelled, scattered, like ants on a mound disturbed. "Stay close," Claire shouted, urgency infusing her voice, but inside, her heart raced with dread. Where was Victor? What was happening? Suddenly there was a commotion at the end of the hallway. Claire squinted against the bright lights and saw Victor emerging from the crowd. Panic scrawled across his face. He rushed toward them, but as he got closer, Claire could see that it wasn't just fear in his eyes. There was something darker. "Get him out of here," Victor barked, his voice low and dangerous. He pointed toward the double doors leading to the emergency exits. "Now!" "Wait, what about you?" Claire shot back, but he was already shaking his head, his expression fierce. "No time. I need to." Before he could finish his thought, a loud crash echoed from the back of the floor, followed by a scream. Claire's heart plummeted as she turned to see a cloud of smoke billowing from an open door. The panic intensified, people pushing against her, shoving her backward. "Jake!" Claire screamed, pulling her son closer as she felt the crowd surge. "Help! Somebody help!" a voice cried, lost in the chaos. She lost sight of Victor just as another explosion rocked the building, sending shards of debris flying. She dropped to the floor, shielding Jake with her body, the impact sharp and terrifying. "Mom, I'm scared!" His voice trembled against her. "Just hold on tight," she gasped, fighting through the panic. Then, from the smoke, a figure emerged. It was the imposing man who claimed to be David's brother. He stepped forward, pushing through the crowd, eyes wide with intense urgency. "Claire," he shouted, reaching out to them as he stumbled through the chaos. "I can help, but we need to move." "Move where?" Claire cried, confusion overwhelming her. Suddenly, everything shifted. The emergency lights flickered again, casting bizarre shadows against the walls. A fire alarm screeched so loudly it felt like her ears would bleed. Then, out of nowhere, something caught her eye. A glint of metal, sharp and cruel, reflected the chaos. A weapon? No. Her heart sank as she realized what it was. A security badge emblazoned with Victor's name. "Victor!" Claire shouted, her voice almost lost in the cacophony. She spotted it on the floor, just beyond the chaos, like a key to understanding what was happening. Her breath caught. "Claire, look out!" Jake screamed as another figure darted past them, eyes wild, flowing with adrenaline. But not before Claire caught a glimpse of what they were running from, a flash of a mask. "Mom, what's happening?" Jake's wide eyes mirrored her own fear. In a heartbeat, a siren blared, and the atmosphere shifted again. That's when Claire understood. The danger wasn't just chaos, it was targeted. Victor wasn't merely involved. He was at the center of something so deeply tangled, it encircled them in the darkness. "Get back," she yelled, pulling Jake tighter against her as she took the boy. Behind her, she glanced around, heart racing, piecing together what felt impossible. Why does he carry David's name with him? "Mom?" Jake cried again, but Claire could barely focus. The room spun, and just as everything went dark with a loud crash, she realized it wasn't just about Jake's treatment anymore. It was about something far more sinister. Something that tied her, Victor, and the mysterious chaos together in ways she could never have imagined. And just like that, the world fractured beneath her. What secrets lurked in the shadows? What lines had been crossed? The explosion roared around them, a gaping mouth of chaos devouring all. Claire felt the shockwave slam against her, sending her sprawling backward, her instincts screaming to protect Jake. Dust filled her lungs, choking her, while the world spun like a broken carousel. "Mom!" Jake's voice was a terrified squeak beneath all the noise, like a bird trapped in a storm. "Stick with me," she gasped, urgency sharpening her resolve as she pulled him close, scanning the room for any way out. But the crowd was a river of bodies, jagged edges of panic, flowing in all directions. And just like that, everything froze. A shadow darted past the flickering lights, but it wasn't Victor. It was someone else, tall and imposing, with movements swift, almost predatory. Claire caught the glimpse of a red badge pinned to his chest, before he vanished into the smoke once more. What was that? Who are these people? Panic tangled with her fear as she struggled to make sense of the chaos. But then, in the fray, as if time had slowed, she saw him, Victor, struggling against a group of men. They wore dark clothes, faces hidden beneath masks. Their intentions were clear. They weren't here to save lives. "Claire," Victor shouted, a wild urgency lacing his voice. "Get out! Go now!" Before she could respond, the man who claimed to be David's brother stepped in front of her, eyes blazing with something almost frantic. "You have to trust me. They're after Jake." After Jake? The shock left her reeling. Why? What do they want with him? "I don't have time to explain. We need to move." But before Claire could process his words, a group of armed men surged into the room, weapons drawn, faces obscured. "Get down," she screamed, her body acting on instinct as she pushed Jake under a nearby desk, her heart pounding in her ears. The chaos erupted in loud shouts. "Where is he?" one of the attackers bellowed, eyes darting around. "David, we know he's here." Claire's breath hitched. How did they know that name? How did they even connect it to her son? The fear surrounded her like a shroud. What is going on? The brother's gaze hardened. Desperation etched across his features. "Jake isn't just sick. He's the key to everything. They want him alive, Claire." "Alive?" The word echoed with horror. "What do you mean? Why? What does he have?" But before she could get answers, the world erupted again. The floor shook beneath them as chaos intensified. An explosion rattled the very core of the building, debris raining above them like meteors. "Move!" Victor's voice cut through the frenzy. But just as Claire grabbed Jake's hand, her heart soaring with a flicker of hope, it shattered like glass. A figure emerged from the smoke, face softening in the dim light. "Claire," the voice whispered. It was a voice she recognized, one she thought lost to the shadows ages ago. "David?" she gasped, disbelief crashing over her like a wave. There he stood, alive, a ghost from the past made flesh. "But you're dead." He shook his head, eyes dark, filled with secrets. "No, I was here all along. And they're not just after Jake, they're after me. It's bigger than we ever imagined." The world twisted, each shockwave peeling back layers of her perception. Every lie, every half-truth, wrapped in deceit. "What have you done?" she choked out, fury and confusion battling inside her. "I did what I had to do to protect all of you," David said, voice low and fierce. "They know about the anomaly. They'll stop at nothing to get their hands on him. You need to come with me now." But as she looked at Jake, fear twisting his small features, a devastating realization crashed down. She had traded her son's future for a chance to uncover a past she never understood. "Mom?" Jake whimpered, eyes darting from one face to another. Time teetered on the edge of a knife. "What does this all mean?" she whispered, feeling the weight of 1,000 questions crushed down. And just like that, as the cries of chaos faded into the shadows, uncertainty loomed. With every truth uncovered, what would it cost to keep her son safe? The ground trembled once more, urging them to make a choice. But would following David lead them into even darker waters? As they stood amid the chaos, one question echoed louder than the sirens blaring. In the battle for Jake's life, who could she truly trust? Claire clutched Jake's hand tight, the world around them spiraling into chaos. Every sound seemed amplified. The wailing alarms, the frantic shouts, the thud of her heart against her ribs. "David, what are you doing here?" she choked out, her mind racing to comprehend the impossible. David's eyes flickered with urgency, yet behind them lay a shadow of guilt. "I had to come. They're here for more than Jake. They're coming for all of us." His voice was laced with a desperation that rattled her. Before she could question him further, one of the masked attackers burst through the smoke, eyes cold and calculating, weapon raised. "Find the boy," he shouted, and panic surged through Claire like ice water. "Run!" David roared, grabbing Jake's shoulder. But just then, another explosion rocked the building. The floor beneath them shook violently, and for a split second, Claire couldn't tell if she was dreaming or if reality had turned into a living nightmare. As the dust settled, Claire's world seemed to shift. The strangeness in David's demeanor struck her. He wasn't just some worried uncle returning from the dead. There was something deeper, a secret entwined in his urgency. "What do you mean they're coming for all of us?" she gasped, shaking. "Mom, please let's go." Jake tugged on her hand, eyes darting around, confusion and fear painting his face. But Claire couldn't move. A wall of dread held her in place. "What do you know, David?" Before he could answer, another figure emerged from the smoke. It was Victor, but he wasn't alone. A small army of rugged men behind him, armed and ready for something dark. Victor's face was set, lips thin with anger. "Get away from him," Claire shouted, stepping protectively in front of Jake. "No, Claire, step back, they're here for the boy," Victor barked, panic creeping into his voice as he shoved through the oncoming chaos with terrifying authority. "Engage," one of the armed men ordered, aiming toward David. "No!" Claire screamed as the world exploded into motion. Shots rang out, the air thick and acrid with gunpowder, sending people scrambling. Bodies fell, cries echoed, and in that searing moment of chaos, everything changed. As David spun around to shield Jake, something glinted in the air, an object flying toward them. Claire's heart dropped as she realized it was a dart soaring straight for David. No! Time slowed, as if she were watching a movie frame by frame. The dart struck its mark, and in an instant, David froze, collapsing to the ground, breathless. "No, David!" Claire cried, rushing forward. He lay there, eyes bulging, confusion turning them glassy. "Claire, it's not what you think." His voice faltered, and suddenly his hand fell limp. Stunned, Claire felt her entire world crack. What's happening? And then the shooter stepped out, the one who'd seemed to vanish earlier. He yanked off his mask, revealing a familiar face. It was Jake's father, someone she thought was lost long ago. "Did you really think it was just about Jake?" he sneered, stepping forward. Claire's heart shattered. "No, it can't be. You're. It's all in the blood, Claire. He hasn't just inherited your stubbornness. He's got the family gift, the anomaly they want," he hissed, voice dripping with malice. Everything crumbled around her. The chaos faded into echoes, leaving just the truth hanging in the air like a ghost. Jake, her sweet, innocent boy, was at the center of a battle far beyond her understanding. "Mom, what's happening?" Jake cried, his voice breaking her heart. And just like that, the fabric of trust unraveled. Regan, alive and standing before her, was the last thing she could have ever expected. Caught in a whirlwind of betrayal, pain, and confusion, she was left gasping for air. Time had run out, and the dangerous game had only begun. What had she unleashed? The alarms blared, drowning out reality, leaving a sinister question hanging. Could she protect Jake from the very family she thought she'd escaped? Claire's heart raced, her chest tightening as Jake's father stepped closer, a cruel smile curling his lips. "Did you really think you could escape this? That you could save your son without me?" "Regan." Claire's voice barely formed the name, disbelief mingling with anger. "You don't have any right to come back now, not after everything. Right? This isn't about rights." Regan's eyes danced with a madness that sent chills down her spine. "This is about blood, Claire. He's my son too." Suddenly, the wailing alarms cut sharply through her thoughts, and it was as if time fractured again. A chorus of chaos surrounded them, but her focus locked on to Jake's wide, terrified eyes. "Mom," he cried, confusion deepening his youthful innocence. "No, they can't take you." Claire shot back, her protective instincts flaring. "We have to get out of here." But before she could grab Jake's hand, Victor stepped in front of her. An urgency hung heavy in the air. "Regan, you're not helping," Victor spat, his voice sharp, full of authority. "This isn't just about you anymore." "Isn't it? You think you can swoop in and act like the hero? The big shot?" Regan laughed, a harsh sound that grated against her ears. "I'm the real player in this game." But just as the words left his lips, the walls shuddered again, a tremor pulsing through the floor, and something about that moment shifted. The flickering lights started to glow brighter, then dimmed, revealing a crack in the room's corner, as if something was breaking through. A low, menacing growl echoed from the shadows. Claire felt it rattle her bones. It wasn't just the chaos of the hospital. Something darker lurked beyond it. Suddenly, out of the crack in the wall, a creature emerged, massive and shadowy, flickers of darkness swirling around it like a storm. It wasn't just chaos. It was a physical embodiment of fear, a tempest unleashed in the heart of the building. "Get back," Victor yelled, shoving Claire and Jake behind him. The once menacing confrontation shifted into sheer panic as the creature lunged forward, eyes like molten lava, a roar that could drown the screams around them. Jake froze, face pale. "Mom, run!" she screamed, grabbing his small hand and yanking him toward the nearest exit. But Regan was in their way, staring at the creature with an unsettling fascination. "Regan, move!" Claire shouted. But instead, Regan's eyes lit with a haunting thrill. "Do you see it? It's the manifestation of everything we are. Power, blood, legacy. It's what they wanted all along." "Legacy?" Claire's voice was low, confusion clouding her thoughts. "What are you talking about?" And then, with a deafening crash, the creature lunged at Regan, swiping a massive claw inches from his face. He laughed, exhilarated, as if the fear cascading around him only fueled his madness. Claire stumbled back, adrenaline surging through her. How was this happening? Before she could process anything, the creature roared again, its voice shaking the very foundation of the hospital, forcing them all to the ground. It was no longer just about saving Jake. They were pinned in a nightmare where every truth twisted like the shifting shadows. As she gasped for breath, Claire's heart shattered under the weight of realization. Regan didn't just want Jake back. He was part of something far more sinister, a hidden legacy she never knew about, tangled with power and darkness that seemed to gnash at her very existence. "Mom," Jake cried, pulling her hand. "What do we do?" The world spiraled, chaos clashed with hard truths, and Claire felt like she was teetering on a cliff. Everything was falling apart, and she couldn't tell where loyalty ended and betrayal began. What had she got herself into? In the shadows, the creature bore down, and she realized if they didn't escape now, they might never leave at all. But as they moved, a deep voice rumbled through the chaos, chilling her spine. "You can't run from your true nature, Claire." In that moment, everything hung in a delicate balance. Could she protect Jake from forces she couldn't even understand? And just who was Regan in this horrifying play? The creature roared again, sending tremors through the room. Claire felt the heat radiating off it, a fierce wave of darkness that swallowed the dim light. It was as if the shadows had come alive, wrapping around her, squeezing tighter with every heartbeat. "Mom," Jake's voice trembled in panic, his grip on her hand tightening as he peeked from behind her leg. "Stay close," she commanded, feeling the tears prick at her eyes. She couldn't drift away from him now, not when danger was just a heartbeat away. But Regan stood frozen, a crazy light in his eyes, like he was ready to embrace the chaos. "Do you feel it, Claire? The power it brings?" he whispered, a manic grin stretching across his face. He looked like he wanted to step toward the creature, like he belonged with it, not with them. "Regan, snap out of it," Claire shouted, fear wrapping its claws around her. "This isn't power. It's pure destruction." The ground shook again, and then the unexpected happened. Just as Claire braced for another explosion, the creature turned its attention away from them, eyes locking onto something across the hall. With a speed that left her breathless, it lunged, barreling past them. The entire room shook like an earthquake. Claire stood dumbstruck, mouth agape, as the shadows clawed through the air like they were alive, consuming everything in their path. "Run!" Victor shouted, urgency lining his voice as he pushed Claire and Jake back toward the exit, arms outstretched like a shield. But just as they stumbled into the clearing, a blinding light erupted. The creature roared again, but this time it wasn't a sound of fury. No, it was a sound of pure agony. The air crackled as the light pierced the darkness, illuminating the hallway. "Mom, what is happening?" Jake whimpered, pressing closer to her. Then, in a heart-stopping moment, Claire watched as the light morphed, taking shape, shifting into a figure. A woman appeared from the radiance, a familiar woman. She stepped forward with grace, her long hair shimmering, eyes piercing like blue daggers. "Claire, it's time to end this," she said, voice calm, yet filled with an intensity that commanded the room. "No way, it can't be." Claire gasped as everything inside her twisted. "It can't be you, Lily. You're supposed to be gone." "Yes, I died." "But not without reason," Lily replied, stepping closer. The creature writhed and howled, a black shadow torn between light and dark. The contrast was stunning. "Lily, I thought I lost you." Claire's voice cracked, a mixture of joy and disbelief rising like bile. "But how? Why are you here now?" "Because this is part of the plan, Claire," Lily said, eyes locked onto Jake. "He's not just your son. He's special. We need to protect him from the darkness that could consume us all." Beyond the chaos, Regan stepped forward, no longer lost in madness. "What do you mean he's special? I deserve to know," he snapped, eyes darting between the women. With a glance, Lily shifted into Claire's past, the moments and truths they'd been. Buried emerged like ghosts. "You think you're the only one who cares about him? Believe me, I would have given anything to keep him safe, and now it's time for the truth." That's when the dam broke. A wave of energy washed over them, pulling Claire into memories of her childhood. Laughter, warmth, and secrets. "You were never just my sister, Lily. You were part of something bigger, a world we escaped from together. And now, they're coming for Jake because the power runs deeper than you know." "Mom," Jake whimpered, trying to grasp the reality unraveling like threads in the wind. In a flash, the light behind Lily exploded, forcing the creature to retreat, howling in frustration. Shadows clawed at the edges of her being, and Claire felt something shift within her. It was as if a veil was lifting, revealing pieces of herself she didn't know were there. And then came the final jolt, a revelation that shattered everything. "Your father was part of this world too, Claire." Lily's voice rang like a bell. "He never left us. Instead, he was the key. Your blood is the bridge." The air thickened with the enormity of the truth. Claire froze, the revelation slamming into her like a tidal wave. "What? No, it can't be." But as the words hung in the air, Claire realized the stakes had never been higher. It wasn't just about Jake's life. It was about a legacy crafted from shadow and light, a bloodline intertwined with secrets and power. How could she protect Jake when the truth was buried deep within her? If what Lily said was true, everything she thought she knew was about to unravel. As she met Jake's terrified eyes, the weight of everything dawned on her. In that moment, with the shadows swirling and the past crashing at her front door, Claire knew they had to face what came next, together. Secrets would inevitably surface, and enemies would rise. But how? Would the light conquer the shadows, or would this turn into a darker nightmare? The question loomed between them like an open door leading into the unknown. Claire stood there, heart hammering, her breath caught in her throat. The light surrounding Lily flickered, glowing even brighter, pushing back against the darkness. The chaos felt like a thunderstorm, but with Lily here, there was a glimmer of hope. If anyone could take them out of this nightmare, it was her sister. Lily stepped closer, her gaze divine and piercing. "We have to move, Claire. The creature is drawn to fear." But the reality of the situation swallowed Claire whole. You faked your death. You've been alive all along?" "Yes," Lily's voice was firm, but beneath it Claire heard anguish. "I did it to protect you, to keep you safe. But Jake is at the epicenter now. His blood ties us all, and it's why they're coming back for him." Just as she spoke, the creature roared again, twisting in agony, clawing at the light where Lily stood. Claire glanced at Jake, fear etched on his small face, and her heart shattered yet again. "Mom, please, I'm scared," he whimpered. "Shh, it's okay, baby." She pulled him closer, wrapping her arms around him. but the truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. They were trapped in a deadly dance of betrayal and power. Regan stepped forward again. "Enough of this," he shouted, tone furious, eyes wild with desperation. "Give me my son. I'm his mother," Claire snapped, rising to the surface of her anger. "You've been nothing but a ghost." But before Regan could counter her, something unexpected happened. The shadows in the room shifted violently, the wall itself pulsating. A blast of energy swept toward them, wrapping around Claire's limbs like thick chains. Suddenly the walls buckled, cracking open like a broken egg. A blinding light shot out, engulfing everything. Inside that brilliance, a figure began to emerge, someone familiar, but also terrifying. "No, not you," Claire gasped. "Hello, Claire," the figure said, stepping into view. It was Victor, but he looked different, more menacing, his eyes swirling with dark energy. Surprise. "Victor, what are you doing?" Her voice quivered, shocked, unable to comprehend what was happening. "I'm here to unveil the truth," he said, a smirk carving across his face. "You thought I was here to save you? No, I'm here to take back what's mine." "Yours?" Panic surged, twisting reality. "What do you mean? You're not Jake's father?" "Not his biological father, but I am connected to this legacy through blood. I am the one who can unlock his potential." The room fell silent, like time had stopped. Jake's grip on her tightened, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "Mom, is he telling the truth?" But before Claire could reply, Victor stepped closer, looming with a predatory gleam. "He is more than you know, Claire. He holds power within him, power destined for me." "What power?" Claire felt the ground beneath her feet quake, unraveling the very fabric of her understanding. "Are you saying Jake is some kind of weapon?" "Exactly," Victor boomed, the shadows twisting around him like a cloak. "It's your fault for keeping him protected from this world. You were meant to unleash him." A sickening realization flooded through her, a raw mixture of anger and fear. "You think I'd ever let that happen?" Suddenly the creature emitted a banshee wail, thrashing violently, almost as if it sensed the truth being revealed. Claire's mind raced. Here they were, caught between past mistakes and an uncertain future. But then came the twist. Just a flicker of movement in the shadows, a flash of light, and a scream pierced the air. Lily collapsed, her form shimmering before vanishing into thin air, leaving behind an echo that still felt alive. "What did you do?" Regan shouted, face ghostly pale. "She's gone." "No!" Claire screamed, feeling the walls close in, her heart breaking into 1,000 pieces. And just like that, everything shattered. The creature's roar drowned out their confusion, tearing into the very fabric of the room. "What now?" Claire cried, meeting Victor's fierce gaze, desperation clawing at her throat. "You're all we have left." But Victor only smiled, revealing teeth sharp and dangerous. "The game has only just begun, Claire. Are you willing to play?" A fresh wave of fear hit her. For Jake's life? Yes, she didn't recognize the path she was on. But to protect her son, she'd do anything. As the shadows loomed, clawing toward them, Claire realized their fight for survival was only beginning. But could she confront the reality of being part of something she never wanted? And could she trust Victor when the stakes rose higher than any life she could imagine? The question echoed in the ruins of the hospital, hanging heavy as the darkness pulsated like a living entity. What would she do next? The room trembled with a cacophony of chaos as the creature howled in anguish, the pulsating darkness clawing toward them. Claire tightened her grip on Jake, her heart racing, the weight of everything crashing down around them. Victor stood at the forefront, eyes ablaze with a mixture of determination and chaos, fierce against the howling winds of fear. "We'll face it together," he shouted, voice rippling through the air like a battle cry. But Claire's gaze was fixed on the creature, every sinewy muscle coiling, its breath a gust of cold that sent shivers through the marrow of her bones. This wasn't just about her and Jake anymore. This was a war against shadows, legacies, and the darkness threatening to drag them all down. "Mom?" Jake's voice trembled, his innocent face reflecting a mix of fear and courage. What can we do? In that moment, something deep within Claire ignited. She wasn't just going to let this darkness take her son. "We fight," she shouted, rallying every ounce of strength she had. "We protect each other. Lily believed in you. Jake, you have the fire in you to stand against this." The creature screeched again but faltered, sensing the shift in energy. Victor turned, determination flickering like a flame. "Claire, if we blend our powers, together," Claire interrupted, snapping back into focus. They steadied themselves, ready to fight. Claire could feel the ancient energy coursing through her, a sudden rush that connected all the threads of her life, the past, the present, and the battle that lay ahead. "Now," Victor commanded. With an unspoken understanding, they unleashed their strength, Claire envisioning a protective barrier as Victor summoned the raw force around them. Light erupted around them, a brilliant shockwave slamming against the darkness. The creature shrieked, recoiling as the light obliterated the shadows. "Mom, look!" Jake cried, as a brilliant beam of light extended from the center of their formation, illuminating every inch of the room. It flickered but held strong, each second feeding off their collective willpower. With a roar, the creature lunged again, but this time, it was met with the cascading light, the shadows retreating into themselves. Claire felt overwhelming warmth envelop her, as Jake shone brightly, the bond they shared igniting courage amidst the chaos. But as the creature writhed, Reagan broke from the trance, his expression twisting with realization and fury. "What have you done?" he shouted, desperation clawing at his voice, as the light pushed back against him too. "Your time is over," Claire shouted, echoing every ounce of defiance she felt bubbling up from her core. And just as she said it, the creature exploded in a blast of dark energy, sending shockwaves through the room, but Claire held on to Jake tighter. With a frantic scream, Reagan stumbled backward into the emerging shadows, the darkness engulfing him entirely. As silence fell, Claire collapsed to her knees, breathless. "Did we? We did," Victor breathed, but his expression shifted. "But we need to leave. It's not safe here anymore." Lily's warmth filled Claire's heart like a guiding light. "Lily!" Suddenly, a translucent figure flickered before them, a tender smile gracing her features. "You've brought him light, Claire. Now he can forge his own path." "Lily, but you—" "Let me go. My time is through. Protect him. Remember our bond." As the light faded, Claire felt a solace wash over her, her heart filled with newfound strength. Victor extended his hand. "Come on, we need to hurry." "Mom," Jake reached out, glancing back. The heaviness of their shared ordeal hung in the air, but they pushed forward, holding on to each other tightly as they escaped the remnants of chaos. They stumbled into the fresh air, sunlight pouring down like a healing balm. Outside, the world bustled, oblivious to the battle they fought. But Claire and Jake remained unchanged. They were warriors now, bound together by trials they had faced. Claire looked at Jake, seeing the flicker of strength in his eyes. "We'll talk about all of this, but for now, we're safe. And together, we can face anything." "Okay, Mom," Jake whispered, finally letting out the breath he'd been holding. Victor stood beside them, a tentative ally in their fight. "We'll figure this out, together." Tears brimmed in Claire's eyes, fueled not just by relief, but by a knowledge that while shadows loomed, their light would always shock their way through. Together, they could forge a future, a legacy unbound by the darkness of the past. As they stepped into the vibrant world awaiting them, Claire knew one thing for sure: their story wasn't over. It was merely the beginning. You have to subscribe right now. Do not wait even one more second. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm. Your support matters now more than ever. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this wild ending. And if you care about your friends, share this video with at least 5 people who need to see how this turned out. This is the moment to show your support.